So a lot of people ask me, hey, how did you afford your Venom Shank? Or hey, how did you afford all the limiteds that you have? And I figured, hey, instead of telling everyone individually, I'll make a video on it, and hopefully, you know, we could teach a few people, we could earn a few people quite a bit of money. I was able to buy everything I own from GFX, which it's a form of deving or developing, which is basically making logos, thumbnails, ads for games, for groups, and being paid for it. I figured I may as well, you know, do a few GFX tutorials, try and help people learn, try and help people get the best start that they possibly can, and instead of teaching them absolutely everything, just teaching them the parts that they need to know to get good, pretty much. So hopefully you guys will stick around, enjoy the video, and if you're interested, drop a like, throw down a comment, or if you have any questions, my Discord will be linked in the description. You can go check that out. So for this tutorial, you're going to need Cinema 4D, Roblox Studio, the Load Character Light plugin, Unequally's Lightroom, and Charlie Rig. For the Lightroom and the Rig, there are going to be links in the description on how you can get those for free, so you don't have to spend any money on those. So let's get into it. So the first thing you want to do is you want to get the Load Character Light plugin. Pretty easy. All you have to do is go on over to Create on the Roblox website, go on over to Library. Now where it says Models, you want to change that to Plugins, so you find the plugins instead of any models. And at the top or near the top, you should see something called Load Character Light. If you don't see that, that's fine, because all you have to do is type on into the search bar, just Load Character Light, and then just give it a search. You're gonna find a lot of options here, especially the ones made by Bird Dev. I just avoid them completely because you don't know what they could be. And you want to go to Best Selling, and you'll find it here if you don't have it on the top. You can tell it's the right one because it's by Already Pro, and that's how you know it's legit and it won't like mess up anything. You can go on and open Roblox. It will just open up the studio for you, and it will be all installed, as you can see there. So from here though, you want to open up your base plate, and on your base plate there are two things you want to make sure like are there, and that'll be your Explorer, which you can see here, and the Properties, which is a little bit below. And if you don't have those, you can just go on over to View, and you can click Explorer and Properties. Now the reason we did this is now, you'll see why we need to do this. So if you haven't got the Load Character plugin here, you can just head on over to Manage Plugins, and you won't see all of these, and you should have Load Character Light, and it will be turned off. All you have to do is turn it on, and you're good to go. So now you want to go under Plugins, click Load Character, and you want to type in the username of anyone that you want to make a piece of GFX for. I decided to use myself. You can pick your friends, you can pick yourself, it's fine. Just make sure that it's spawn R6 and the spawner origin is crossed. And then you should have your character in studio like this. It's nice and simple, really no big problems with that. You know, you can check everything here is right. If there are any issues, Discord will be linked down below. You can come ask me, you can ask anyone else in the server, hopefully they can help you out. But from here, it's nice and simple. You just have to go over to under the Explorer, the element with the name of the person you're making a GFX for, click Export Selection. Now you can save this anywhere. I suggest making a new folder for it, because otherwise a lot of stuff can get lost. You don't have to have as many folders as I do for specific things, but sometimes it helps to organize it all. Also, make sure not to close your studio file, just in case you messed up somewhere in this stage. You won't have to then reopen it and go from scratch. It saves you a little bit of time, but it's always worth it. So now comes the more challenging part. It involves Cinema 4D, and it should open up quite easily. Cinema 4D looks quite scary at first, and it was scary for me when I started off. It'll be scary for you too. That's fine, it just takes a little bit of time getting used to it. You want to know that these 3 buttons in the top right are the things you want to use the most, and they're your movement buttons. So each one's slightly different. You have this plus looking one, which is the pan tool. You can use it to move around normally, like along up, down, left, right. You can drag it around like this, and you can start to get used to it. It will take a while to get used to all of these movement tools, but you'll get there eventually. You have the zoom function as well, where you can zoom in and out. It's quite convenient when you're starting to do like small details and things. And then we have the rotate, which is pretty obvious. It just rotates around a point. The last one we won't have to use. It's quite complex. We might end up using it in later tutorials, or you might see me use it in quite a few speed arts, and it's quite easy to use once you get a hang of it, but it's not worth learning for the start. We want to go over to File, and we want to Open this time, because we're going to go and we're going to open up our rig, our Charlie rig. So we just want to click it, click Open, and you want to make sure that you have this along with the Lightroom. You just double click Charlie, and you can exit out, and you're going to have a little yellow fella like this, and that's fine. It doesn't look anything like our character yet, but he's in here, and you know, good thing about this is we don't have to then like manually rig every bone like you would if you use other tutorials. So it saves us a lot of time, and it means that we can get straight to doing GFX. So with each, for moving this guy, each of these little squares can be used to like position him in a different way. Like I've just made him do a little dance, and that was really easy. Each square you can move independently, and it allows you to pose him. You want to go on and you can then open up the model that you saved from Studio. So mine was saved here under Cinema 4D number 1, and you're going to see 3 files. You don't need to care about the MTL, you only need to care about the image file and the other one, which is an OBJ. You want to import that, leave it at 100, and you're going to see that your character is too high and he's facing the wrong way. So what you want to do is you just want to select all of these. You can do that by pressing Shift and the other side, so you end up selecting everything in between the 2 points that you've clicked on, and you can then go and you can drag it down. From there, you want to press the rotate tool. You want to rotate it 180 degrees. You can use Shift to make sure it goes in 10-degree intervals, which helps for a really good 180 degrees spin. And then from here, you want to delete every single body part, making sure to leave only the accessories. So the glasses, the hat, the antlers, and the sword. So once we've got that, you'll end up having someone like this with grey. If you ever make a mistake, Control Z sorts it right out. You don't have to worry. Now, we want to give a texture onto these. So down here, you see all of the textures. We have one. Double click this. We only have to worry about color for this, so we can remove reflectance. We don't need to really care about anything down here. We just want to go to the 3 dots next to texture, give it a click. We want to go on over to our texture, wherever we saved our model. You'll find it here. Just make sure that it's the one that looks like a picture. Click yes, or open, and then click no, and then it'll be there. Nice and easy. Now to make it look better, you don't have to do this. You can just click down over to editor down here and change the texture preview size to no scaling, and it will look a lot cleaner. It doesn't affect how the finished render looks, it's only how it looks in the editor. So we're going to have our character looking like this. He's still yellow, so it's not quite perfect, but we're gonna work on that, okay? As you can see, all of the hats are on, they're fine. And where we want to go from here though, is we want to make sure that our hats and our accessories are all stuck to our character. So since I know here that this is a headpiece, I'm going to add it to head attachments. This again is a headpiece, so I'm going to drag it down to head attachments. We'll glasses are on my head, so I'll drag it down to head, but my sword is not, it's on my torso, so I'm going to make sure to drag that down to torso attachments. Now the reason I did this is to make sure that when I do move my character, all of the parts go with that moving body part, instead of like if I was to move, let's say this arm, I wouldn't want my hat moving. So that just means that we can start to move our character and we don't have to worry about the posing of hats or anything like that, which is really convenient. As you can see, we can move the head in any way we want and the hats are not leaving it. So in order to give him the skin color that he deserves, we're going to go on over to click the Charlie rig. If we wanted to give him an interesting face, we can click face rig over here, but we don't need that. All we're going to be doing for this tutorial is we're going to be going over to textures, which you can see here, and we're going to click shown. Just give a click onto your character and you'll see it down here. You just give that a double click, go on over to color again, click the three dots, and you're going to click the same picture as you did last time. Click open, click no, close that on up, and your character's all good. You could render it now if you wanted, but it's not worth it unless you're going to start posing him. You can do this by clicking on the squares, using the move tools in the top left, as you can see me using here. We have the movement tool, and here we have the rotate tool. You can see I'm just getting a genuine pose. If you want help with using all of these tools, by the way, let me know. As you can see here, it's quite easy to just move it. You have the move tool, the scale tool, and the rotate tool. The scale tool is basically making parts bigger, which is something you won't really be using. It's mainly just rotating and moving. But then I've got my character posed up here. Nothing else I really need to add for this guy. So I'm going to start considering, hey, how can I start to render this? So once I'm ready to render it, what I want to do is I want to go on to edit render settings. I want to go into my output. I want to change my width and my height so it's 1920 by 1080. This can be larger if you want, it will just take longer to render and nobody really needs it to be much larger than this. You want to go on over to save, change the format to PNG, make sure you check alpha channel, and if you want to, this is optional, go on over to effect. You can click ambient occlusion and global illumination, which helps with the lighting on your character. Then you can close this up if you want. And our character would technically be ready to render. You can render by pressing the button in the middle. As you can see though, our render is completely black, and that's because we haven't added the Lightroom yet. You do this by going onto File, Merge, make sure not to open because it will remove everything you've done so far. Go onto wherever you've saved the Lightroom, you just open like that, and then you can render yet again, and it will be all good. As you can see, my character's starting to render in. It will start off by looking grey. This is fine, this is normal, you don't have to worry about it. Just give it a little bit of time and it will turn into what you want. There you go. So once you've got this sorted, you can see it's all good, everything's fine. You want to go into File, Save As, make sure it's PNG and alpha channel selected. Just click OK and you can save it wherever you want. So that is all you need to do to start making your own GFX. It's the basics. Sure, we're going to go over some more complex stuff later on in the series. If you have any questions, drop a question in the Discord, that would be awesome. If you have any suggestions or examples you want to show us, again, the Discord's great for that. Be sure to drop a like if you enjoyed, greatly appreciated. The rest of this video is pretty much just me making the thumbnail, so if you want to stick around for that, feel free to.